Welcome back to this year's edition of Fall Friday, where I share with you a dinner recipe and a dessert that I think you're going to enjoy. So stick around. This is Savvy Saute. Here are the ingredients we're going to use for our chicken and the marinade and then the sauce that we're cooking it in. I'm using maple syrup and Dijon mustard. We'll also use some red wine vinegar or balsamic, but this is what I have. Also some olive oil. We're going to use oregano, thyme, and Italian parsley, salt and pepper. We'll have some garlic as well. And then for the veggies, I am doing some baby carrots. And for the measurements, it'll be really easy to remember. Measuring spoon, and we're going to do 3, 2, 1, and 1. And I'm going to make it really easy as well by mixing it all in the same casserole dish I'm baking it in. Here's our 1 tablespoon of our vinegar. Now we're going to chop up a couple cloves of fresh garlic and some parsley. You could use some powdered garlic for this, I'm sure, but fresh garlic is my absolute favorite. You can also use the garlic that's already minced for you, but I think that fresh garlic just has a better flavor. If you had to choose between the powdered and the jar of it, I mean, go with the jar, but you just cannot beat fresh garlic, that's for sure. Honestly, think that adding fresh herbs and fresh garlic, a little bit of citrus, you can tell it's a home-cooked meal. So good. It just takes the meal to the next level. So if you haven't done that yet, I definitely recommend it. It is worth the extra time that it takes to chop it up yourself. And you can also use one of those little mincer things, like a little garlic press. You can use a chopper. There's all kinds of those, and I'll leave some down in the description box for you. Those make really good stocking stuffers. I don't tend to use them as often as I used to. I don't know, I think chopping like this is a little more therapeutic to me, but there are times where I would much rather just pull out the chopper. And this doesn't have to be perfect or teeny tiny. It's gonna roast in the oven for a while. So all of those little pieces of garlic is gonna cook down and get really soft, and roasted garlic is delicious. We're also going to use some fresh thyme. You could use dried thyme as well, but I went ahead and got this. And I think the easiest way to use it, you hold the end of it and then slide your finger down, and it gives you all those little pieces. And we're gonna need about a 1/4 teaspoon of this, the recipe calls for. And then we'll need a 1/2 teaspoon of the rest of our seasonings. Of course, I'll have the whole recipe down in the description box for you, so you don't have to worry about writing everything down right now, but it is fairly easy to remember. Now it's starting to smell like Thanksgiving. Speaking of Thanksgiving, what kind of plans do you all have? What are you making? Are you the one cooking, or do you get to go enjoy the cooking of somebody else this year? We have a 1/2 teaspoon of oregano. We're gonna use a 1/2 teaspoon of just black pepper, 1/2 teaspoon of salt. And we're just gonna whisk this all together. Now I'm going to use this package of skinless chicken thighs. You could of course do some that have the skin and the bone in them, but this is what I'm using today. I got it for a really good price. So I have 5 chicken thighs. I'm gonna go ahead and let all of this get coated. I know it's just raw meat and seasoning, but it already looks so good because I know what the turnout is going to be. Now that it's had time to marinate, I've got my carrots. I'm going to actually put the chicken on top of the carrots. And we're going to bake this at 400 degrees. And that'll probably take about 30 minutes. Next, for our rice pilaf, I'm gonna use a basmati rice because I like that it's a longer grain. I'm using parsley, some more thyme, 1/2 an onion, some garlic, celery, a couple tablespoons of butter. We'll use cranberries that are already dried and some sliced almonds. And then I'm also defrosting some orange juice, and we'll use some water, but you could use broth. I just don't have any more vegetable or chicken broth. So I'm gonna start by prepping my vegetables. I'm going to chop this up really nice and small, get 1/2 my onion chopped up, just to make sure it's nice and clean. And then I'm going to run my knife through it long ways so that they're skinnier pieces. And then we're just going to dice it up nice and small. like a really good stuffing. But instead of bread, we're using rice. We're going to do these heartier vegetables first. Let those saute, and then we'll get our garlic ready. I'm just gonna saute this. You can do some oil, butter. I'm going to saute it in a little bit of water just to keep the fat content down. I'm gonna do 1 clove of garlic. Prep some of our dried thyme, and we'll put that right in at the same time as the garlic, and some parsley. And our 2 tablespoons of butter. And then we'll pour in 1.5 cups of rice. And then we'll just let this cook for about 3 minutes. Now we'll add 2 cups of broth or water and 1 cup of orange juice. About 1/2 teaspoon of salt and pepper, about 1/3 or 1/2 cup of almonds, and 1/3 cup of cranberries. I'm gonna stir this in, turn it down to a simmer, cover it, and let it cook until it's all nice and fluffy. This is so good. I definitely recommend putting all of those ingredients in there. So here's after 40 minutes in the oven. The carrots are not super tender yet, but everything is cooked through and it smells so good.
I would actually recommend doubling the sauce recipe, saving half of it for glazing the chicken later, and also use extra mustard for more flavor. But overall, it was a really good tender dish.
Next for our dessert, we're just going to use 1 can of cinnamon rolls, just the standard ones, and some apple pie filling. You can use a small can or some homemade, which is what I had in my freezer. So I pulled that out. I'm going to spray to keep it from sticking. And then we're just going to open these up and chop them. So there's 8 little cinnamon rolls in this package. I'm just going to quarter them, make them nice bite size. And then we're just going to fill up the casserole dish, make a nice layer. And then save the icing because we're going to use that later. So we're going to put it at 400 degrees in the oven for about 13 minutes. So here it's out of the oven. We're going to put on our icing. So here we have our rice pilaf. our maple Dijon chicken, carrots, and a dessert. Oh my goodness. This is so good. So hopefully this recipe gave you some inspiration, and of course, until the next video, I'll see you in the comments.